15 to lead us off. David Spacek. Don't know who wants to lead off here.
Yeah, I mean, I think this is kind of a guy. I don't know. I've always been kind of surprised with the way that Russo the team seems to be very high on him. I know I was listening to Hoppy and Spoke the other day. They were talking how a lot of the team seems to have him above a guy like Lambos now for whatever reason. I think is he a right shot? I think. Is that?
Yep.
Okay, so I know
that is probably the only reason why. To be honest.
Yeah, that seems to be.
Russo knows his dad too. So.
Oh wow. Okay, yeah, that
well,
makes sense.
a lot of people know Yaroslav Spacek.
That makes sense.
Or at least know of him.
No, just Russo. It's only him.
But I mean, I know he had a good big World Juniors the other couple of, maybe last year, the year before. I think so. But
yeah, last year he torched at the
I know he was really good there.
6 jerseys, by the way.
Oh yeah.
Yeah. Of that like stupid template that they're forced to use, Czechia's are definitely like top 3. And then of course Sweden's are right there because Sweden is stubborn in the best way where they refuse to make their great jerseys look bad. But
yeah, I'm supporting that.
Yep. I don't know. I've never been high on him. Oh wow. A defenseman from the Q puts up numbers. Oh wow, amazing. Like no, I've never been high on him. And you can see if you're watching on YouTube, I'm definitely the lowest as far as my ranking on him. I don't know. Had an okay run in Iowa. I at least was able to get back up from playing a little bit or Iowa Wild anyways, was able to get back up with the bigger club than upon playing a little bit for the Heartlanders. But I don't know. I don't see this guy ever playing in the National Hockey League. I think he'll be an AHL player forever.
Yeah. I think he definitely got a little bit of the Russo boost in my ranking. One thing we always said on the Foghorn, where when Russo says stuff, there's always fire with his smoke. And if it's coming through him in some way or another that the Wild think highly of him, it feels foolish for me to have him lower than, because I have a really like this tier with like, honestly, I kind of view Peart, Masters, Spacek, and Healey, like all 4 of those guys for different reasons, but a lot of 4 of those guys are kind of all in the same area for me.
God, I think Peart's so much better than him.
Dude, Russo's a big cigar guy. How has he not gotten like a cigar sponsorship in the lines of there's fire where there's smoke?
Yeah. Yeah. But on top of that too, I think it's easy to look at, the year he had in Iowa and be like, yeah, it was a pretty bad year. But as we've talked about before, like it was a bad year for that whole blue line because they said, what if we just played 5 first-year defensemen in pro hockey and see if that works? And it didn't, shockingly. But I think if you look at, I mean, yes, it was in the QMJHL, but like he played well with good teams when he's been in the World Junior spotlight. Like this guy in the year after the Wild draft him was a point per game international and has 13 points so far this year in 24 international games. Like he seems to shine when his teammates are better, when the competition is better. I just think there's a lot of runway for him to continue to get better. And I think, again, that right shot premium that the Wild kind of lack in their prospect pool. I think if there's a right shot D opening on the third pairing in the next 2-3 years, I think he's the guy that they want there. But he's the one that has to get there.
He'll be a world championship stud, guys. That's about it.
Yeah, I mean, after what Isha said, I guess I wasn't expecting to be the one that have to, bounce back with like the positive side of this, because like I absolutely think he has a NHL projectable skill set. While I do view him as a guy that, like Brett, you said, had the Russo bump. I mean, the fact is, the last 2 World Juniors that he's played in, he's been voted as a top 3 player on Czechia.
Also, is that voting flawed, Z? Like,
yeah, last year I lost my mind. Yeah. Well, I was going to bring that up. So he is just an interesting player where it's like he's a 6-foot right shot D man where he's decent as far as his mobility goes. There's games the last 3 years, whether it was in the Q or the A, where like defensively he looked really good, made the right decisions, like closed gaps, all that. And then there are games where you're just wondering, why is he at the red line when like the play is in his own end? Like just super unpredictable, a bit of a wild card, but very, very solid offensively once you get into the offensive zone. Like I put him and Masters back to back because when I look at their game, I look at Spacek as a guy where teams are like, oh yeah, that's the profile of player that's going to put up decent offensive numbers. Maybe he's not going to be great defensively. Versus a guy like Kyle Masters, who I think teams look as like, he's 5'11". Next.
Then they're like, David Spacek, 6 feet. Now I'm interested. I'm listening.
Yeah. No, it's crazy. But Masters has always played the more projectable game in terms of the transition. Again, Spacek just so up and down, like so wildly inconsistent.
Just streaky, yeah.
Drafted his draft year. They took him as an overager, which as an overager, where they took him, I like to pick. And I guess I'm going to have to be the guy that like claps back with like, I went down to the ECHL. I can't believe I have to do this. Like Masters played way more ECHL hockey than Spacek did. I only say that. I really was hoping to hide that fact. But I had to after the fucking scathing review from.
He looked good in the World Juniors this last year. I'll give him that, but like I don't know. I just don't. I don't see
anything Isha says on WHL or QMJ. Both are ridiculous.
The Q sucks. Oh, first.
There it is.
All right, you're back. You're back.
We finally got the Z internet blip. It wouldn't be a real recording if we didn't get one.
Pretty good though that it went almost 2 hours without it. Yeah. So I think I see David Spacek as a guy that definitely the Minnesota Wild, but even more so like NHL teams are going to look at and say, we like this guy and we'll give him more of a chance than a guy like Kyle Masters, despite the fact I think Masters plays a more projectable game in general. Because I think Masters gives you like the transition, the defensive side of the puck. Like there is some offensive upside that if you give him the runway, there's more there. It's like 5v5 versus a guy like Spacek where it's like he hits or he doesn't. That's it. And they took him as an overager again. He runs a really good power play, looked really good run the power play. International hockey, as a lot of the Europeans do, like they look real fucking good when they play with other guys that are as good as they are. You can't lean on him. He can't be one of your go-to guys, but as like a second power play option, he's got some NHL upside for sure. And I've seen enough defensively over the last like 3-4 years that I think he can absolutely become a full-time NHL player. I think the runway is longer than maybe the Wild projected to be because it's still pretty inconsistent. But still a legit player, still has NHL upside. And again, I do think ultimately like teams are going to look, and also the fact that he's a Spacek, like, so that's going to help. When you have NHL lineage, like that helps, obviously. So I think he's going to be a guy that like teams look at, specifically the Wild for sure. They're going to look at that more favorably than a kid that they have to invest like 4, 5, 6 years in before they play. But all around games, big question mark. The offensive upside's there. I think he can become a full-time NHL player. It's just whether or not he takes that like the steps defensively to round out the all-around game, whether or not he actually does get there. So I still look at it like the same way, honestly. That's why I put him and Masters back to back.
Yeah, I'm the same. You could easily flip those two for me, and I wouldn't have a problem with it.
Nice. I'm disappointed that none of you caught my Easter egg here because there weren't many usable high-quality images when I searched David Spacek.
I was like, that doesn't say Spacek.
Yeah, that is definitely Yuracek, but it showed up as one of the first options searching David Spacek. Like, I got to get this jersey in, so we're doing it.
I thought he looked I thought he looked different, but I was just like, oh, it's probably just because I haven't seen his face enough. I was like,
I was just looking at the flex and the stick in that picture.
I know, it's impressive. It's like, no, there's no way Spacek's doing that. All right. Well, as you all heard Z say verbatim, we have former overager David Spacek at number 15.
Go fuck yourself.
I'm sorry, Z.